And so, welcome back, everybody. This is Night Flight. Tony Sayers is back, and we are going to talk about etheric implants. Yeah, Tony. So, in preparation for this interview, I looked up the definition for machine, not because I don't have any idea what a machine is, but I wanted to know, and it says here. An apparatus using mechanical and having several parts, each with a definite function and together performing a particular task. So, in the widest sense, etheric implants, do you think, because there is a task and a particular function, and I guess that is, you know, um, leaching the light body of energy.
Mhm.
So, could we say, in the widest sense, that it's a type of machinery?
Yeah, it's it's a type of machinery, and there's a lot of different variations, and it takes a lot of different forms. In my experience, I've been clearing this stuff for like 10 years now, and there's all kinds of sort of gizmos and gadgets that I've come across that all have different, I guess you could say, yeah, different aims in order to kind of either hijack our energy, distort our energy, um, hijack the full functioning of maybe an organ or the brain. We have a lot of implants in and around the head on the brain that can take different forms. Some look like metallic bands, some look like helmets. A lot of these implants look like what Elon Musk is bringing out with like the NeuroLace, the NeuroNet. So what we're seeing with these chips and implants that are going to be pushed on humanity by the likes of Musk, it's already there in the astral. So, it's kind of as above, so below. Um, and when I remove this stuff, generally, especially if the head in the head, your head tends to feel just a lot lighter. The cognitive functioning seems to be better, seems to improve. Also, memory function, I find is, if you spend a good time clearing these implants from your head, that seems to improve as well. Of course, there's other things in play as well that can affect things like that, diet and nutrition and stuff like that. But these implants do have different functions in order to, yeah, just hijack the fully functioning potential of our human vessel. So although these etheric implants are in the astral, because where you have a physical brain, you have a brain in the astral, and likewise with the heart, the nervous system, and everything like that. Although they're implanted there, they affect us in the physical, and so this is why, for example, if I remove a lot of implants around the heart's a very targeted area because they don't like the expansion of the heart. It's not good for their low frequency, low vibrational reality that they want. Um, so people often report more flow. They're able to feel their heart energy. It's incredible. When I first embarked on all of this years ago, and first started clearing these implants, I couldn't believe just how little beforehand that I could actually feel my heart energy, which is basically love energy. It just feels like a flow of unconditional love. And so they want to try and obviously disconnect us from that. And they do this a lot by these etheric implants. And so you remove these implants from the heart, that flow comes back. And you're like, wow, I can actually feel this kind of like loving energy. And it's not like false light, that kind of love. It's genuine heart energy from your field. So they're trying to hijack, distort, feed off of it, siphon it off. I see, different like black cubes in the astral cords, big black cords that go into like the likes of Saturn, the moon, into like these big quantum computers coming in, going from like different organs, going into these computers. Um, so it's really incredible the levels of hijacking that's going on in the astral, to the point where, we're basically the whole transhumanism thing that they want here. It's already kind of there in the astral. A lot of our energy body is really overlaid with AI and technology and weaponized technology, transhumanism technology. Um, so they've kind of already, or they're attempting to turn us into boards via the astral bodies, the light bodies, as you say, and then of course that plays out more in terms of how we are in our physical life, and so it really is incredible just the levels of or the lengths that they go to with all of this. And this is without even talking about entity attachments. From my work, I say the chakras are also an implant. That these entities lock into and siphon off our energy and feed on our energy. So they've packaged a lot of it within the new age stuff. And then you get into the realms of like contracts and just I like to spin this stuff on its head, because otherwise it's like, oh, we're screwed, because you think, well, why would they need to do all of that? Well, it's because we're the powerful ones. It always goes back to that. We're the ones that, I always say, like, left unchecked without all of this junk that they put on us, our energy would be expansive. We would all have full access to that heart energy. Maybe we wouldn't be, maybe we would be more loving to each other, and just naturally, naturally nicer race of people. Um, and so, because our energy is so expansive and so powerful, the targeting and the hijacking equates to that. So it really is, you can look at it two ways. You can look at it, okay, we're screwed. They're doing all of this, not only in the physical, but in the astral. But I like to look at it the other way, is the reason they need to do all of this, because they have to. Because if we weren't hijacked like we were, then we would just overpower them. And so this is why we are, what I believe, we are the batteries that are powering this whole matrix. I think we are. I think they're literally siphoning off our energy, probably via some of these implants or whatever, and they're feeding some kind of, I imagine, some kind of like giant mega computer or quantum computer, and this we're powering the whole thing. So the more we disconnect from those things and the implants and the cords and all of that stuff, the more access you have to your own energy. And this is when like great healing can take place. I've worked with people and they've had aches and pains that have been there for years and just disappear, or, not all the time. It's not always the case. But when you have more access to your own energy, of course, that has all round knock-on effect to your all round health. Um, and so they've tied us up in knots, really, in terms of like the implants and all of that stuff. But to go back to your question, there are many different forms of implants that seem to have many different functions. And when I'm clearing this stuff, sometimes I see things that are more like symbolic. So, for example, I might see like an anchor on someone's heart. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's an anchor. It means that whatever that device is anchoring that person's heart energy. And so, like when you remove this stuff, if you if you're removing around the heart, the head, those areas will always feel lighter afterwards. You might have a bit of a headache or some initial kind of like uncomfort, because these things energetically can be quite heavy. So if you spend a lot of time working on your head or in the brain, quite often you can have a headache, which can last, a day or so. But once that dies down, there's a really nice kind of light feeling to the head, and your thoughts are clearer. Because I think a lot of this technology as well, is kind of like astral, like voice to skull technology, voice of God technology. We know that entities will loop negative thoughts in our heads. A lot of our thoughts are not our own; they're coming from entities, and they play on any insecurities or unhealed wounds that you have. So I don't know, for example, you've got a big abandonment wound, you'll be in a relationship, these entities will be like, he's going to leave you, he's going to cheat, he's going to like constantly, so they're like opportunities, so they amplify these things. And it's the same with the implants. I think the entities do that. I think a lot of this technology that they place on our heads or everywhere is also feeding these thoughts into us that because you think about it, right? Like some of the thoughts that we get, or a lot of the thoughts that we get, I always say, you wouldn't talk to your best friend like that, would you? You wouldn't say the things that we have it going around our heads every day. And then, it's when you remove all of this stuff, you're left with a quietness of the mind, and you realize none of that stuff was yours anyway. So don't get me wrong, we've all got like our subconscious wounds, that's still there unless we work on them. But a lot of these inorganic thoughts that we have are either coming from entities or what I would say this astral technology. They have I've seen like metal plates on people's brains, particularly the right side of the brain, which is the creative side of the
Your
brain.
your image, you just yeah, okay.
My hand just tapped the view. Yeah, so for example, they will target certain areas of the brain. So that, yeah, like a metal plate on the right side of the brain, which is our creative part. They don't like us being creative. Um, so yeah, it's whatever they can do to keep us down, siphon off our energy, and distort our abilities. I mean, I'm sure a lot of these implants affect our telepathic abilities, maybe our ability to astral travel and, all this kind of stuff. So, we have a lot of inherent abilities that we haven't tapped into. And I think a lot of this leads back to the hijacking with these implants and technology that's in the astral, which is now
Mhm.
starting to play out in the third dimension, in the physical domain.
So would you say that those etheric implants are doing both reversing and draining life force?
Yeah, I think there's ones that drain. There's ones that yeah, I mean there's more localized implants, and there's more general implants, and that can be it can be very much individual as well. So I could like work on one person, there'll be an incredible amount of interference around the heart, whereas someone else might have more interference around the brain or the head or and another thing what I've found down the years is if you have a particular weakness in your body, they will get in and implant that. And again, opportunities turn the volume on those things and make the whole thing worse than what what it was before. Um, so they all have multiple functions. Like you mentioned machine at the start there, just like machines have multiple functions, these implants have multiple functions. And like I say, a lot of these are just off our body as well. Like I say, with these like black cubes seem to be a very common kind of technology that's being used in the astral. If you look at Saturn as well, there's that black cube in the center there. Um, and obviously in the physical domain, it's symbolic of mind control. That's why the TVs are like black cubes. You've got the black cube of Mecca. You've got when
In
you
many cities, if you just type it in black cubes in cities, so many images come up. Mm.
yeah, you've got it. When you graduate, you get your degree of indoctrination. You have to put a black cube on your head. So the cube is important for them. We of course we're all kind of living in a cube in apartments and houses. It's just like as above, so below, and everything. yeah, everything in the astral is really starting to play out now in the physical domain with what's going on. And it's all computer language. Even that word there, domain. Domain is the house of a website. It's the home of a website. So it's all one big AI with offshoots of you know all this AI tech and stuff coming down not just on us, but also this is planetary as well. So the the planet itself has all these cords and quantum computers, and I do work on the planet, and people in my group do work on the planet as well. So seems like we're in a big astral war as it was with AI and its accompanied entity races, which are basically just computer programs. Um, so they're literally they can just be deleted just like a computer game.
Did you ever come across an implant in your line of work that was not completely etheric, but had, let's say, synthetic or biological components?
100%. And
Okay.
that's not just in a certain what you might consider targeted individual. It's in all of us. I mean, we have nanobots inside of us, right?
Yeah. Mm.
From what they're putting in the air and in the water and the so we not only do we have the astral technology to deal with, it's where they've been creeping all this stuff into our atmosphere over the years. We're breathing it in. These nanobots are alive within us. They attach to brain neurons and they can actually control people's thoughts and get you to think a certain way. And maybe this is part of the reason why sometimes I mean, just yesterday, couldn't believe it. I was just in the supermarket and I was walking down the middle, and this girl just stood in the middle of the aisle, and it was just like she was a robot. I kind of just stood in front of her because I was waiting for her to acknowledge me, and I just kind of a little experiment just to see how long it would take her to realize that I was there. And she's like that. And but it wasn't long. It wasn't like it was just a couple of seconds, but longer than someone else would. Oh, sorry, But I stood there. It was like, I kind of had this like morbid curiosity, and I was like, is she even real? Like, what is going on? Like, just the lights were on, but nobody was home. And you have to wonder, I mean, of course, people have taken the poke, right? So we know that there's a lot of live stuff there with all the stuff that they put in that. And, I'm sure a lot of that has taken over people's ability to think. And I mean, it really is like I always say if it was a sci-fi movie, it'd be banned. This whole movie would be banned. So there's a lot of people that have um, live AI in them. I would say nearly all of us do in certain respects. And if you've ever done a heavy metal detox, which I'm sure you have, Judith, you'll know. I mean, I don't want to get too graphic, but I did something with I don't know if I should say it because I said it on another podcast, and the guy got his channel taken down, so I won't say it on yours. But I did something protocol for a week, and when I went to the bathroom at the end of the day, there was something that was very alien there, right? I was like, okay. So I think we all have, stuff in us that is metallic, kind of like technology and all this kind of stuff. And we just like we have detoxes and ways to help remove that. I mean, saunas are great for that. I try and have a sauna quite regularly at my local gym. Um, but yeah, I think and some like really targeted individuals, I would say, people that are singled out by the military and stuff. But I think they do get like physical. There are people that have had like physical implants put into them, and MK Ultra victims and all this stuff, which I'm sure you've been down those rabbit holes in your interviews. So but the astral is, yeah, I mean, it affects all of us. Everyone has it, and they've overlaid our physical, well, our astral body with not just implants, but just tech in general, hybrid technology, cyborg technology. Because, yeah, I mean, where AI wants to exist through humans in the physical, it's already doing it there in the astral. And so, and some of this can be quite challenging to clear because a lot of AI is kind of self-replicating as well. So, um, some things can be a little bit more complex than others, but yeah, it's all fun and games.
Um, so one thing that I don't quite understand is how are these etheric implants installed in us? Is it by intent? Is it, how does that work? Do you have any idea?
Um, well, I know that you have when you're talking about entity races, there seems to be they different entity races. There's like a hierarchy. I think I mean, they all kind of want control in their own way. But when you look at, for example, like the Greys, you'll often hear um, anyone that's had an awareness, maybe they've woken up in a dream or something, and or been or had sleep paralysis. Often they'll have a memory of being like on a table with greys around them and stuff. And because we don't remember our dreams, I mean, there's clearly some kind of memory wipe process that goes on. Like, when you wake up, literally, you've got 2 seconds to remember what happened in your dream. Otherwise, it's gone, which is why it's a good idea to have a dream journal actually to start writing this stuff down. Um, so they do a lot of stuff at nighttime. We're more vulnerable at nighttime because we're out of body. We're there, but we're not really there. And so I think like how they do it, I don't know exactly how they do it. They obviously have their, just like in this realm, they have their different tools and stuff like that. I think some of them are implanted at birth as well by maybe machinery. Um, I believe the chakras are an implant that we all implanted with at birth. Um, so yeah, I don't know exactly the way they do it, but I just know that it's there, and yeah, it seems to be just like when like an entity attaches, it can be also, if you're really out of your center, maybe you get really drunk or you get out of your head on some kind of DMT or something like that. When you're really out of body, again, because there are opportunities, they'll use that as a moment in which to implant you. If you have a really bad trauma, maybe a car accident, you're knocked out, something like that. But then there's just the general stuff that they put on us during the night and stuff like that. And again, some people are more targeted than others. Like everyone has this stuff going on, but some people get it a little bit worse, I think, for whatever reason. So
So these etheric implants do definitely have consequences and leave imprints in our 3D experience.
yeah.
So would you say that they are electromagnetic in some way?
Um, well, I mean, like I say, I think because they're in the astral, right? So they're
Mhm.
planted in the astral. So they're not like in our physical body, so to speak. So yeah, I would just say in that sense, maybe more magnetic, maybe. But
Mhm.
yeah, but they definitely affect the functioning of our physical experience, our organs, our brain, um, and even down to little things like I've worked with a couple of singers down the years, and when I went to the throat, there was like kind of a lot of stuff going on the throat, and I actually saw like a red microphone. A lot of this symbolic, like I say, doesn't necessarily mean it was a red microphone, but I took it to be that there was something. about the implant that was affecting the person's voice when they were singing, which maybe was changing the frequency of the voice. Because, a really good singer that can really lift your mood, right? Can really make you feel good. And so, they've changed the frequency of the music down here. It was four, is it 432 or 440? They changed it. And so, frequency is very important to them. So I found that really interesting that these singers had implants. So it seems like if you have certain gifts and qualities, I found a lot on my throat as well because I've got a loud mouth and I speak a lot about all of this stuff. And maybe that was to do with like just changing the frequency of my voice somehow. Yeah, like if you've got certain gifts or qualities, they will, they can target those more specifically as well. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I read an article that was talking about etheric implants, and this one also talked about etheric weapons.
Hmm.
And I will just read a little bit what it says, and then I would like to have your thoughts on that. It says here, etheric weapons, knives, cleavers, needles, objects that are found in the light body, in the genitals, corpus callosum. Most commonly, this is a spraying type of implant that is designed to create lower frequency disturbance. They are used to bolster the the longer use of bioneurological harnesses, like smaller nails
Hmm.
being impaled to hold down the larger inorganic structure in in the light body, or a bleed through from another timeline where
Hmm.
war and weapons were used. Many times the person may have expired from these weapons used against them in another identity in time.
Mm. Yeah, interesting. I wouldn't doubt that. I mean, for sure, I've seen things like um, knives and even like screwdrivers and screws and like those old like torture devices with like the head clamp and stuff like that. And I've seen like guns and stuff like that. I never really thought about linking it back to maybe a previous life. Maybe that's a thing. For sure, if you take the concept that we've been around a few times, then I'm sure we've all been through quite a lot of traumas and wars and things like that. So maybe there is that kind of like energetic imprint that's kind of there in stuck in time and space. But yeah, screwdrivers, screws, nails, yeah, all that lovely stuff is very, very common as well. Almost like yeah, daggers and oh, I see cannonballs. I've seen bombs. Like the old cartoon bombs with the in the Tom and Jerry film with the black and the. I've seen them on people's hearts, and doesn't necessarily mean it's going to blow the heart up. It's just something that's, that's not, maybe not so good in terms of energetics. Um, but yeah, so all that stuff, yeah, I've either seen it and it resonates, and yeah, the fact that we've had many lifetimes, for sure, I could see how that could, that could leave like a residue or an imprint on our, on our body, on our spirit bodies. So yeah.
So that would mean if we drop one body and go back here, we take those imprints with us.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just like where you could go into like past life memories, and I mean, I always remember a really interesting session I had with a guy who had fear over water, and he was like, Tony, I really got this fear over water. It's annoying because I really want to, want to be in the sea and all that stuff, but I don't know why, I just can't. And we went back. we did some like regression work, and he went back to a lifetime. It's a little bit sad, but he was disabled in this family, and the family couldn't afford to. That was very poor times. I can't remember exactly, but the family couldn't afford to keep him, and so they ended up drowning him basically. And so we had to go in and like change that holographic imprint that was stuck in time and space. And we did quite a bit of work around that. And then, yeah, like 2 or 3 weeks later, he said, "Tony, you never guess what? I've started to, I've started swimming and stuff like that." So a lot of these, because I was saying on one of my podcasts on my channel the other day that I don't like heights. I really don't like heights, and I don't know why I don't like heights. Nothing in this lifetime has ever happened. But I've got a balcony here, and I can barely like look over it without getting giddy, right? And I'm thinking, oh, maybe there's something there, like in some previous life where, I jumped off a cliff, or I was bombed in the sky. I mean, who knows what happened? I'm still yet to find that, whatever it is. But yeah, I really can't stand heights. So I do think that a lot of like fears that we have can be linked back to previous lifetimes. And the same goes for those implants as well, and these residues that get left. Um, so yeah, it definitely makes sense.
Mm. Yeah, with heights, I have that as well.
Really.
Yeah, yeah. The funny thing was, you know that I worked for many decades as a flight attendant. So
Oh, I didn't know
we,
that actually.
you didn't?
No.
Yeah, yeah. But that was never a problem. I had no problem being in a plane looking down. No
Right.
problem. But you send me up the ladder. Oh.
Yeah. I went to the first time I really noticed that I had a problem with heights. I went to France. I went to Paris. I was on my own. It was when I was younger. It was when I used to do a lot of backpacking. So I thought I'm going to go to the Eiffel Tower. So I paid to go up. And I don't know if you've ever been up the Eiffel Tower, but it's like because there's like girders, right? And there's gaps between them, right? So you can see like the ground, right? And I'm getting second floor, higher and higher, and third floor. I'm like, I can't do this. I've had enough. This is like I'm like I'm kind of rocking and shaking. And I don't think I went to the top. I had to go back down again. That was the first time I really noticed it. But yeah, so a lot of these things you wonder like where they came from, you know. But I
I,
don't think
yeah, I
so.
had a similar experience in Chichen Itza.
Oh, really? That's near me.
Yeah, yeah. And I went up the pyramid, and they have these chains, yeah, that you can pick up, and yeah, up was no problem.
Mm,
But
down.
then I looked down. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. I felt so dizzy. It was really ridiculous. I'm pretty sure, and it looked ridiculous, but I went down sitting down.
You know you're not allowed to
I
climb.
sat down and then one step after another. I, I turned around. I thought, oh my goodness, what have you done?
You're not allowed to go up Chichen Itza anymore. You can't climb to the top. And it was in the news here. It was all over the news here the other day because funnily enough, a German guy had run up on the eclipse. He'd run up the pyramid on the eclipse, and the police had to get him back down. And all the Mexicans were like punching him, like they were really angry with him because he'd gone up like without permission. So yeah, it's been a while since you've been allowed to climb that. I don't know why they stopped it, but yeah, I just yeah, I can't stand heights. And my balcony here, I don't, I love Mexican people, but I don't trust they build things properly because everything they do breaks like 10 minutes after they've fixed it. And like the balcony I've got here, I always think if I lean on that a little bit too hard, I feel like I'm gonna go over it. But yeah, so.
And those, let's say, weaponry that you sometimes find, do they also cause physical harm?
No, not really. I mean, if you to remove like some of these, like I don't know, these daggers that I see, sometimes you might feel like a little twinge in your physical heart. And not nothing major, just a little noticeable, depending on how energy sensitive you are. Um, yeah, the other thing is when you remove a lot of this stuff, sometimes it can feel like tingly, a little bit tingly, where because a lot of these implants, if we're talking about the heart at the moment, so a lot of these implants, as I mentioned before, they stop the flow of energy around the heart, or not stop it, but hijack it. And so when you remove those implants, there's like a tingly feeling where energy starts to move more freely in terms of where it maybe never flowed as freely before. So there can be like little subtle feelings, especially that, if you pull in like heavy entity attachment of someone, they can almost feel like a pulling feeling. Again, depending on how energy sensitive you are. Some people feel absolutely everything. Some people don't feel much at all. Um, I worked on one lady in New York, I think, and she just burped the whole way through the session, like literally burp, burp, burp. So, but yeah, so sometimes you can feel like when you remove them, bit of a pulling feeling. The head specifically you can get, yeah, it can feel a little bit, yeah, maybe a little bit painful. I always call it like a heavy lightness. When you've removed stuff from the head, there's like a heavy lightness. So because the implants themselves are quite heavy, you've got that initial heavy feeling, but then you know something's been removed. So there's like a lightness at the same time. But when the heaviness subsides after you've had a good night's sleep, then you're just left with like a lighter, yeah, like a lighter brain, a lighter head. You just feel clearer in your head. So yeah, they definitely affect us physically. That's their intention, really, at the end of the day, or one of their intentions. Like I say, I think a lot of a lot of these things are feeding quantum computers. They're powering where all these cords and computers, and we're powering different parts of the construct. Um, and from what I've seen is that it's our energy is it's being siphoned like we're being milked like a cow, basically. So when cows have those things on their udders to milk them, that's kind of what we have. And then our energy gets allocated to different parts of the matrix construct, this AI, um, and goes to different parts of it. And so this is why I say that we are the batteries, and I think the more batteries that can get out of this, then I think the whole program comes down, the whole game. If you look at it
That,
like that, this whole computer game gets
that is
because now we
actually that is actually what they showed us in the movie Matrix, the first
yeah,
one.
yeah, it's exactly like that. Yeah, um, and yeah, so I think that this is why they're worried because they know that we have the power, and they when I look at my timeline, when I like, they don't care about you like looking into all the 3D stuff, like what's going on with Trump and all that, and they really don't care about anyone looking at all that stuff. I mean, of course, they'd rather you not figure that out because that can lead to other things. And but when you start getting into what's going on in the astral, that's when you start getting the love bite relationships coming in, the night terrors, the sleep paralysis, you know just everything in your life gets thrown at you because this is where it's all coming from. It's all coming from the astral, which I call the prison yard. Like Earth is the prison, the astral is the prison yard. And so if there's one place they don't want people going and working out, it's that. And I think really that's where we need to look. We need to look beyond behind the curtain, um, and that's the root cause of it all in the astral. So and just mentioning you were talking about weapons and just something that I've been talking about recently as well I don't know if you watch my videos, but there was one that I uploaded where this astral traveler came across like the afterlife, kind of Beetlejuice afterlife, where there's cities, people have jobs, use money, and this seems to be where the real ND, like the real afterlife is, not the glitz and glamour where they meet you with the light beings and show you a realm, a heaven realm and all that. That's because that's so you become an agent for the Matrix, come back down and say, oh, it's wonderful, everything's going to be fine. But it seems to be that's where you really go, this like earthly realm. And a lot of these entities up there, and these some of these are human souls that work for the Matrix. They have like these butterfly nets, and they have like these kind of battens and stuff. But what was interesting, just going back to our power, is that this astral traveler had worked out that he could like make the policeman hit himself with the baton, and he was able to like do all this kind of telekinesis stuff. And he said that when he spoke to people in this kind of astral after, they didn't even know they had these abilities. Like they can manifest like money and food instantly up there. Not that they need money and food, but they don't realize that they have those abilities. And he said the few people that did realize they had abilities, they said they weren't allowed. They weren't allowed to use it. There's big punishment if they use it. Um, and that all resonated with me because yeah, they don't want us to figure out that, we have these abilities. Like we can shapeshift, they can shapeshift, we can shapeshift in that dimension as well. And we are the creators of realms, we're the creators of worlds. We can instantly manifest. We are the powerful ones. It just seems because of the memory wiping that's been going on lifetime after lifetime, we've completely forgotten our own abilities, and then they bring us down here or force us down here where we're subject to mind control and told we're not good enough all this lifetime and all the stuff that goes on here. So so yeah, I think we have an opportunity this time round to really figure this stuff out. And what I'm saying on my channel is we need to maybe get a little bit nasty now because um, these entities. I mean, look, just what we've spoken about in this hour, what they're doing in terms of all the implants and siphoning off our energy. I mean, we didn't give them permission to do any of this. I mean, this is all coercion. This is against our will, and this is an attack. This is like we should be looking at self-defense in terms of, we need to remember that we have those abilities. And what I've been saying is, when I pass over, hopefully I don't need to deal with the astral. Hopefully I'll bypass it by not going to the light. But you never know what's going to be out there. But I'm going to be fully ready for whatever, and if that means that I need to hit back at something, I'm going to damn well do it, and 10 times stronger. And I think there's kind of because humans, our nature is kind of like non-confrontational, and I get it. I don't really want confrontation, and we've been too nice, too trusted. Even within the alternative media, I think there's a reluctance to go there. Like no one really wants to. But I mean, look at what they're doing to us. I mean, really, look at what they're doing here to the kids. I mean, at what point do we say enough is enough? Because they don't seem to understand. A lot of people say, "Oh, just say no consent." I mean, that does nothing, right? It's entities will still attach and all this stuff. They don't give a shit about those words. What they do understand is if you delete them, that's when that's what they do understand. Um, so I'm thinking, I'm saying that we need to get in touch a little bit with maybe a bit of a nasty side, in order that we might need to in that dimension at least hit back. I'm not ruling that out for me. I don't want to, but I'm ready for it. When you consider, like the butterfly nets that I spoke about then, and I've looked at some NDEs where people have been just forced into the memory wipe process, like not even asked, just forced, right? And yeah, for me, enough's enough. I mean, I'm already kind of like working. against this stuff and doing what I can with all clearing it all here, but well, not all of it, but there's a whole group of us that are working on stuff. But um, I'm just saying to people, like, be prepared, like, for when that time comes. You don't want to just
I
think that
see.
everything's going to be love and light. And, it's even if you get out of this astral, the prison yard, hopefully it will be more love and light, but you just don't know. And I'm just saying to people, look, just be on your mettle, maybe consider doing some energy training or, looking at stuff like this and just get ready that you might need to use it. Right. So that's really my message at the moment.
Um, which also leaves the question, okay, you can, of course, assist in, getting rid of etheric implants. Um, what do we do after that? Is it, I go back home, or the next day I go to sleep and they start working again while I'm
Um,
sleeping. So there's something that we can do to, yeah,
I see what you're
stifle
saying.
that process.
Yeah, I mean, so they're never going to stop doing what they're doing, but what you can do is you're able to maintain yourself. You're able to maintain your own energy. And this takes practice and it takes dedication and commitment. It's like like I always say, if my electrics goes down, I'm not straight away going to be able to like rewire my home or something like that. What I'd need to do if I wanted to do it myself is just train. And so we need to train ourselves. But when you become proficient at clearing it, and what I'm doing is not anything that you can do or anyone listening couldn't do. The only difference is that I've spent 10 years learning and practicing every day. And so, like anything, if you do it every day, hopefully you become, pretty good and proficient at it. So we all have these abilities. We all have abilities to, you know, cleverly see things, remote view things, clear things. Everyone, every single person has these abilities. Of course, we're not taught about it in school for obvious reasons. And then when you get older, all of this stuff is seen as taboo. So we just go through life just not even knowing that we have these abilities or even that this stuff exists. Um, but when you practice and you do it regularly, you're able to maintain your own energy. And so, for example, for me, if I wake up, I'm very energy sensitive these days, so I know pretty much if something's come in and I've got an attachment or something in my dreams or something, I can literally just go in and deal with it and it will be lifted. So my daily experience is I feel very clear. My head feels very clear because I'm able to just go in and if there's an issue, just clear it myself. So everyone can do that. It just really takes the dedication and commitment, to just practice and your energy strength becomes stronger the more you train and the more you practice. So it's like anything. If you don't go to the gym, you don't work out, your muscles are going to be weak. But if you start working out or whatever your exercise is, then you're going to get stronger. And it's the same thing. Same thing applies. But we all have these abilities. We all have this potential. Um, and I think we need to get accustomed to it while we're alive, and then so when that time comes, it's not so alien to us, if we need to use it in other dimensions, other realms, so to speak.
Hmm. So, in other words, we can learn to clear out our own light body.
Yeah, absolutely.
Once we have trust in the process,
Hmm.
and would you suggest to work with light? Let's say white
No,
light
okay.
or golden light.
You raise a good point, actually, and I'm glad you mentioned it. Only work with your own energy. Don't
Hmm.
work with. God, light, um, just just use your own energy because you're again, we are the ones powering this. We're the powerful ones. We have that. I call it essence energy. Yeah, we have a fractal of that within us, that creative spark, that powerful essence. So utilize your own energy. So whenever you're clearing, the intention is that the clearing is coming from your own energy. Um, obviously, I talk a lot about all this, the new age stuff that people tie themselves in knots with connecting with Archangel Michael and light language and all this new age stuff, which is really just it taps into a false light grid, Reiki and all that kind of stuff. Um, so yeah, just if you're clearing yourself, just use your own energy.
So
You can
you
you can
would
visualize
also,
you can visualize that in a certain way. Like some people might see it as golden energy, but as long as your intention, it's all about intention in that realm. So in that dimension, sorry. So as long as your intention is just when you're clearing, it's your own energy. It doesn't matter if you see it as like a golden light. Um, I mean, you can some people do it in different ways. Some people will use their energy and freeze an implant and then use their intention to blow it up. As long as it's coming from you, that's the safest thing. So
okay. So you would also not recommend, let's say, on the heart level, to let a light evolve there and get bigger and bigger. You wouldn't do that.
no, if you want it, okay, let's talk about a very simple technique that you could use for your heart. So or just your whole. You can use it more locally, but let's just talk about a simple technique. So imagine a waterfall in the top of your head. Let's do it general first of all. And then what you're doing is you're with your intention, you program the waterfall to, let's say, clear etheric implants from you. And so then you imagine that if you wanted to use visualization, you imagine that running, oh, you've gone, I've got the cat's backside. Just at the vital point of the information. So you imagine that kind of like cascading down one side of your body all the way down, and then coming back up the other side of the body, and then you're just circling it around your body like a washing machine, basically. And so
Would
you
you
just
do it under the shower?
like,
Because then you actually are
well,
standing in water.
you could do if that helps you, if that makes it easier for you to do it in a shower or under a waterfall, like physically, you don't need to. Um, you know, for a lot of people, just lying in bed and just imagining that cycling round, and then you should feel, depending on how energy sensitive you are, you should feel some subtle shifts, some subtle, you know, some like twinges or something like that. But you can do that more locally. So it might be good just to start do that locally. Just you mentioned the heart there. So just imagine your energy flowing like a circle of water around your heart, just clearing implants. Um, and then just when you start, just do it for maybe 5, 10 minutes a day, because otherwise you do it longer than that, you might get tired and you build yourself up. So that's just a very simple, that's the technique that I teach. Just very simple one to start with. But then you can go really far, I mean, to the point where like your remote viewing stuff and, you can really take it as far as you want. But that would be a very, very simple technique that people could get started with.
Um, some people suggest to clear your energy field anytime you come. Yeah, let's say you come home and you have been in contact with a lot of people. Let's say you went to a mall, you went to a supermarket, you went to a concert or whatever.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say in that case, you immediately have to clear your energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Other people emit different stuff. A lot of people have their own kind of interference going on. And if, for example, if you're in a bar or something, you've got everyone's demons out drinking, uh, you I mean, I don't go to bars I can't even remember the last time I did, but if I'm around a lot of people, or for example, last time I remember, where I am here, there's not so many. It's not a city, but I went back to the UK last year, and I went to London for a couple of days. Interestingly enough, my family live in Essex, which is about 40 minutes on the train. As soon as I got into London, I got a massive headache. And I came on two separate occasions, different days, once with my mum, once with my dad. Both times, as soon as I arrived, I felt so dizzy. I mean, it really showed me just like what is going on frequency wise in those big cities. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent there. But so obviously in London, there's a lot of underground trains, and those can be very packed. And I remember at the end of the day, I just felt such a heavy energy, like just from being around all those people. So yeah, as soon as I got home, I just cleared myself of other people's energy, and yeah, again, you feel lighter. So if you're around a lot of people, it's kind of challenging as well. I mean, there's so many aspects to this. You've got entities, you've got implants, you've got overlays, you've got other people's energy, you've got black magic, voodoo, witchcraft, you've got contracts, you've got chords, you've got etheric quantum computers, AI, etheric transhumanism, you've got like metallic, like physical nanobots, like literally it's a whole world. It's literally a whole world to learn, really. But once you get over the hill with it, you're able to maintain yourself. You're able to, like I say, most of the time my thoughts are pretty clear. I can feel straight away, suddenly it's interesting, suddenly you'll sit there and you'll be fine. And then you'll start getting like these weird thoughts like, oh, you're going to fail at this, or you can't do that. And you're like, hang on a minute, I was all right 5 minutes ago. Something's come in. So the more you do it, the more aware you become of it, and you become very energy sensitive, which is a gift and a curse because these days now, without someone even opening their mouth, I kind of feel their energy. You know what I mean? So, and of course, everyone's like heavily jibbed, and like just being around some of these people energetically is challenging, but I love it. I mean, I don't love what they're doing, but I love the fact that we can, we're living in a time where all this is coming to light, and we can really empower ourselves. And I think people should, I encourage everyone to look at all of this. And, Rome wasn't built in a day. You're not going to be like perfect at it. Most people, certainly the people that come to me, are like, Tony, I'm worried I'm not going to be able to see anything. If I had a pound for everyone that said that to me, and then 6 months down the line, they're finding implants and clearing like all this stuff. So don't feel like, you're going to be perfect straight away. There's going to be, like anything, you got to practice at it. It's no good just doing it once a week and 3 months down the line, you're like, oh, I'm not getting anywhere. Well, no, you need to do it. Probably need to practice every day or every other day, really. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, that is what we also talked about before we started recording. You know, getting some knowledge under our belt with alternative medicine and how we can help ourselves in a lot of cases. Because, as I said, we will see the collapse of many, many institutions.
yeah. Well, I mean, it needs it. I mean, I'm really at the stage. I don't know about you, Judith, that like every day I just even things that you don't think are evil, you just accept as normal are evil. Like
Mm.
for example, the other day I was walking, I just went to the supermarket and I came back and a motorbike hit a taxi and a little girl flew off, 5 year old she must have been, flew off one way and the mother flew off another. And I ran in the middle and got them to the side. And luckily she's all right. She just had a big graze down, but she could have died. Like, and I just think like even things like that, it's like evil that that could happen to a little girl. Just the whole setup, you know, like the whole setup of things that can happen to us, and you know, young kids getting cancer and what's going on, you know, with with the wars and stuff like that. Like, I really would like to end this place, you know, like delete the program. And because I think, okay, if I get out of here, like, how does it feel knowing? Because there's people in here that I love, you know, I love dearly. And like, even if I get out and everyone's still here, it's like, surely the plan should be to end this. It's just gone too far. It just feels like it's gone too far. And it feels like it's time that we need to fight back a little bit. And this is where we're going to get it. This is where we'll get it done on the energetic, on the astral level, where this matrix is being projected from. Um, and yeah, I don't know why I mentioned all of that. I forgot what my point was, but
Yeah, when you finish it in the astral, it has consequences here in 3D.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you know, if we're the batteries that are powering this thing, then I think the more of us that work this whole thing out and make better decisions, let's say, then you take the batteries out, then like any appliance, it doesn't work anymore. So I think probably that's the way that it will happen. Um, and this is why they do. Think about it, how much they do to distract us. Like all the football, the soccer, the sports, the Netflix, the psyops, they just don't want you going deep into working out what's going on here. And and I think they fear it. They fear us getting to these levels of information, which is why all the censorship goes on. I mean, me and you, how many, if we had a pound for how many times our channels nearly got taken down, you saved my ass couple of times with your techniques. Um, yeah, Rob from Skeptic just got his taken down, sadly, but um, yeah, so they're scared of us. I mean, this is the thing, and they don't want us realizing that we have these powers. And it's really sad, like to think that people are dying not knowing that they have telekinesis abilities and instant manifestation abilities. And they're still, according to this astral traveler, they're still indoctrinated with the New Age 5D program or religious programs, even though they get there and they get told that Jesus never existed. So it's a clown world. It's got to end. It's just too evil. So, and I think energy training, energy work, I think is a big part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I would like to delete this program as well. The sooner the better,
Yeah,
because this is a shit show.
yeah, yeah,
And I'm tired of it.
yeah.
And
I yeah,
and I think, we definitely can do better.
hmm, yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
definitely.
it's not just the politicians. Yes, I do get it. A lot of them are making very stupid decisions. I can see it here with EU and even in my country. I don't even know what to say sometimes. Yeah, the amount of stupidity, and I think also it is probably intent as well.
Hmm,
It's not all stupidity, but yeah, as you said, as long as you talk about that, you are never really in danger, and you get a lot of views,
hmm,
definitely, yeah. But yeah, you keep people thinking we just need to remove those puppets and put somebody else in, and then things will get better. And but don't you dare to peek behind the curtain and talk about it. Then you're having fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, we're the powerful ones, and the more you realize that, the better, I think.
Yeah. So, Tony, interesting hour. I thank you so much for coming again. And yeah, guys, that was it. Night flight for today, and we will see you on the next one.